Welcome to the Explainer. Okay, let's just dive right straight into understanding the hidden engine that is literally powering our modern world. When we think about manufacturing, progress, and large-scale industrial output, our minds naturally gravitate toward what we can actually see. But today, we're going to explore a completely invisible workforce that is absolutely crucial to human survival and industry. When I say factory, you probably picture massive machines, sprawling assembly lines, and thousands of human workers meticulously putting things together, right? But the reality of who really runs the world's most important, life-sustaining factories is far more microscopic. It's this incredibly efficient biological assembly line that never sleeps, never takes a coffee break, and operates right under our noses. We're talking about a workforce made up of organisms that are so incredibly small, measuring less than zero point 0.1 millimeters. To put that into perspective for you, that is actually thinner than a single strand of human hair. They're completely invisible to the naked eye. To even begin to manage or observe this workforce, we have to rely entirely on the power of microscopy. They are impossibly tiny, yet they literally carry the weight of global industries on their shoulders. So how do we manage them? Well, that brings us to the science of microbiology, which basically acts as the ultimate management manual for these microscopic forms of life. By studying these organisms, scientists and engineers can understand their unique biological behaviors and figure out exactly how to deploy them effectively in massive, large-scale industrial processes. And the craziest part about this workforce? It brilliantly illustrates their ubiquity. They are literally everywhere in nature. Whether you're looking at the air we breathe, the water we drink, the soil right under our feet, or even plants, animals, and yes, our own bodies, they're there. It's this massive, globally distributed resource just waiting to be put to work by those who know how to harness it. If we look at this table, think of it like the org chart for our invisible workforce. It's divided into 5 major departments: algae, bacteria, fungi, protozoa, and viruses. Each group has vastly different characteristics, from the way they reproduce to how they consume energy. Now, while each plays a crucial role in the balance of nature, today we're going to focus heavily on the industrial heavy hitters that have totally transformed human civilization. Historically, our relationship with these microbes shifted from just looking at them to actively putting them to work. Moving from those incredible early observations by Antoine van Leeuwenhoek in 1675 and Robert Hooke's first looks at bread molds, we see a massive shift. It was Louis Pasteur's groundbreaking work on fermentation in 1897 that was a real game changer. That truly bridged the gap into industrial application, proving for the first time that we could harness these tiny workers for our own production needs. So let's look at how we actually use them, starting with Department 1, Fungi, the Food and Drink Division. This specific division of the microscopic world is largely responsible for what you likely have sitting in your refrigerator or your pantry right now. They are the undeniable champions of our food and beverage industries. When we cultivate these eukaryotic organisms in controlled lab environments, we can isolate the specific strains of fungi that possess the exact metabolic properties we need for commercial production. Fungi are just highly versatile. Because they're eukaryotic, which means they possess a true nucleus, industry can take advantage of both their unicellular forms, like yeast, and their multicellular forms, like molds. They reproduce via spores that you can find in moist places, the air, and the soil, which makes them incredibly resilient and relatively easy to cultivate in large batches. Examples like Mucor and Aspergillus are heavily studied for exactly these traits. But here's why this matters to you. Without these specific yeast and mold processes, our industrial food production would basically collapse. I mean, we brew billions of gallons of beer globally, and absolutely none of it happens without this biological workforce. The fermentation processes driven by these organisms are the sole reason we have beer, wine, cheese, and bread. Every single bakery and brewery in the world is fundamentally reliant on millions of microscopic fungal employees doing their job perfectly. Next up, we move to Department 2, Bacteria. This is our medicine and environmental cleanup crew. While fungi dominate the food sector, bacteria handle some of our most complex global challenges as the unsung heroes of modern medicine and environmental management. To understand how we use them, we kind of have to look under the hood at their biological machinery. Unlike the fungi we just looked at, bacteria are prokaryotic. This is a massive distinction because it means they lack a true nucleus. That simpler cellular structure lets them multiply rapidly, making them incredibly efficient targets for industrial-scale biological programming. When we grow them in culture, our bacterial workers organize into some pretty distinct, recognizable structures. They form shapes like cocci, which are spherical, as well as rod and spiral shapes. Recognizing these forms is step number one in identifying which bacteria are best suited for which specific industrial tasks. Now, sure, some are indeed pathogenic in nature and cause disease, but industry classifies the helpful ones by their defined cell walls, specifically whether they're gram-positive or gram-negative, to harness their specific traits. Ranging in size from 1 to 2 millimeters and varying in their ability to move around or produce their own food, these distinct traits allow scientists to take specific species, like Bacillus, and use them for highly specialized, unique industrial applications. So the absolute crucial takeaway here is that we use these microscopic organisms to industrially manufacture life-saving medical supplies. We are literally programming bacteria through genetic engineering to synthesize human insulin for diabetics, and we cultivate them to produce mass quantities of antibiotics. They're the living factories producing the medicine that keeps modern society healthy. And it gets even more amazing. We actually deploy bacteria as a literal environmental cleanup crew through a process called bioremediation. When an environmental disaster like an oil spill happens, specific strains of bacteria are introduced to actively consume and break down the pollutants. They're also instrumental in treating wastewater to provide safe drinking water and in developing new biodegradable products to cut down on future pollution. Let's step back for a second and look at the broader scope: agriculture and the balance of nature. Because the utility of these microbes actually goes way beyond the walls of a pharmaceutical lab or a commercial brewery. Beyond the factory floor, this invisible workforce ensures the very balance of nature itself. They drive the decomposition of organic matter, acting as a crucial food source in the ecosystem. In agriculture, they literally live inside animals like cattle and sheep to help them digest grass. Furthermore, applied microbial research has led directly to disease-free crops and vastly healthier livestock, totally securing our global agricultural supply chains. It completely changes your perspective, doesn't it? The next time you eat a piece of bread, take a vital medicine like an antibiotic, or even just drink a glass of clean, safe water, I want you to remember exactly who did the heavy lifting to make it happen. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep looking closely at the invisible world around you.